What is up, watch friends? Welcome to another episode of Talking Timepieces with Tony. I'm sitting in a different position on a different chair because my back is super jacked up and the chair is higher up, so it's easier for me to get up. That's that. So today we're going to be talking about my Rolex Submariner, reference number 124060, 6 months on the wrist, and let's get into the intro and we'll talk about it.
You're watching Timepieces with Tony, talking timepieces with Tony. You're watching Talking Timepieces with Tony. Yeah.
All right. You know, there's something about this whole thing with the Rolex waiting list that's made things a little bit different, or a lot different, but a little bit different in a sense that I've owned many Rolexes in my past and current, and for the most part, you know, I've bought my Rolex when you could just go in and buy them, you know what I mean, and without having waiting lists or anything like that. And then in February of this year, I got my date just. I was on the waiting list. I wasn't even my AD's list, and I got the date just. I was super stoked, super excited. I did a review on that watch on my previous channel that I used to have, and having them, it's great having them, and it's awesome. You look at them, and then eventually they just become a watch, you know, and you still love them, but they just become a watch, you know. There's nothing wrong with that. You love watches, right? But there was something about this particular Submariner that was different than all the rest. You know, for one, I didn't think I would ever get a Submariner, so I never really bothered asking my sales rep AD about getting a Submariner. You know, when he had brought it up to me previously, I don't know if you could hear that. It was a big truck, it sounded like, or a car. I look out my window and there's a dude. What an asshole. Right when I'm filming too. I don't know if you caught that on the mic. But there's something about, I'm got thrown off. Sorry, I'm really sorry. There was something about this. I never thought I was gonna get a Submariner, so I didn't ask. And then when my rep brought up the fact that, you know, he had a Submariner for me, would I like it? And I've told this story before on other videos, and I was like, are you serious? You know, I mean, I literally thought he was joking. I mean, like, literally, if I showed you the text thread, which I don't have because I don't have that phone, it's a different phone now, I'm like, dude, you're fucking kidding me. There's no way. You're joking. And he's like, I have one. You know, the thing about it with this whole crazy wait list and all that, you know, when we go buy a Rolex, you know, just say any watch, I mean, essentially it's a very selfish purchase, isn't it? You know, we're essentially thinking of ourselves. I want to buy a Rolex. I want to buy a Patek. I want to buy a Vacheron, or whatever watch it is. It's a selfish thing. Now, granted, when someone buys it for you or whatever, but when you say, well, I deserve it, I'm going to see if I can get a Rolex. And yes, you do deserve it. So there's nothing wrong with that. Thinking about yourself is very healthy, all right? Not all the time, but, you know. So in a sense, with this, say you go into Rolex, you say, I'm going to buy myself a Rolex, and you buy yourself a Rolex. You just bought yourself a Rolex. Great, yay, I bought a Rolex. But in this case, you're not just thinking about yourself. The AD, your sales rep, is thinking about you and says, hey man, out of all the hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that are trying to get these watches, this is the guy I want to give it to you, or give it to, you know what I mean? And it's like, wow. So essentially you're not just thinking about yourself, someone else is thinking about you. And they're saying, hey, let's get this guy the watch. So it makes it even more like, oh my God, you know, it's really happening. So now let's get down to the watch. I've had it for 6 months. Actually, I bought it April 3rd of 2022. So it is the current model, of course. And, you know, for some reason, this thing, it's just still kind of blows me away. Other than my other Rolex and other watches, I still get kind of tingly. I look at it and I still get like, so look, I can't believe I have this watch, you know? And for one, is not only just ridiculously comfortable. I have a really good memory for this now as well, for you know, just how I got it and whatever. It's just, it means a lot to me to have it. You know, I certainly never thought I would ever have a Submariner, but the beautiful thing about this watch, you know, it's ridiculously comfortable on the wrist. You know, it doesn't ever, you never feel like it's bothering you. You know, it's almost like it's not there. It's a little heavy, yes, but it's not something that you go, oh, fucking watch. You know what I mean? It's just beautiful. It's 41 millimeters, as I just stated. Ceramic bezel. All the indices and hands are 18 karat white gold. You have a 70-hour power reserve. It has an easy glide system on the strap where you can just change it and move it and size it if your wrist swells up or shrinks or whatever in the weather, in the conditions. And overall, the quality of Rolex is superior. It's got a 32-35, it might be a 32-30 movement, but it's their upgraded movement. The Loom on it is really nice if you're into Loom. And it's so funny when I did the comparison with the Rolex versus my Omega, you know, I got some Omega freak commenting on it, saying Omega is clearly a better watch because it has 15,000 Gauss. You can go into an MRI with it. Now, is that all you got, dude? Because, you know, the Omega is great too. I love it. I own both of them. I'm sure the guy who said that doesn't own both of them. You know what I mean? You're just making you know, when you own them both, you can make an educated decision on what is good and what's not good. I love them both, but that for different reasons. You know, I don't care that the Omega has only a 55-hour power reserve as opposed to a 70-hour power reserve. Both watches are amazing. I'm certainly not, when I go get my MRI for my back, I'm not going to wear my Omega in the MRI. More likely they'll tell you to take it off anyway. Anytime I've gotten CT scans, things like that, they say take off your jewelry, you know what I mean? So they're not going to let you wear it in the MRI anyway. So Omega dude, whatever. Anyway, so it's a classic watch. It's not the most sought after, but my sales rep at Bindi Jeweler did say that it's the most requested watch that he is getting for Rolex. But the date, this is the no date. I prefer the no date simply because of it's got more heritage. That's when the Submariner started. You know, there was no date, and I prefer that. When he offered me this watch, he actually offered me a date version of this too. I don't know what the reference number on that is. Okay, but so I chose this one, and I'm super glad that I did. I don't need to have the date window. I have them on my Datejust. You know what I mean? So, but again, it's got the oyster steel, which is 904 steel, meaning that like if I went swimming, like for instance, when a few weeks ago I went swimming in my friend's pool. They have a saltwater pool. I wore the Omega that day, and after I got out of the pool, because it's salt water, I rinsed the watch off. With the Rolex, I wouldn't have to do that. I probably would have anyway, but I wouldn't have had to do that. So, having said that, you know, it's just a beautiful watch. As far as the bezel click and all that stuff, I don't really care about that because I don't ever turn the bezel. You know, a lot of people really get off on that. Oh, the smoothness of the bezel. You know, doesn't bother me. I mean, I don't care. I think aesthetically it looks better than the previous generation, which is the 114060. Thinner lugs. And I don't know, it sits better the way it is. So anyway, having said that, 6 months on the wrist. I love this watch, and anyone who's on the list, I hope you guys get yours soon. Having said that, let's have a drink real quick before I say goodbye. I appreciate all the likes and subscribes. Keep doing it. And then we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.